Which of the following is the mode of genome replication in AIDS virus? DNA to RNA, RNA to DNA, DNA to RNA, RNA to DNA, DNA to RNA. RNA to DNA, DNA to RNA is the correct answer. Select the alternative that contains only vector-borne infections. Malaria, trachoma, syphilis, tapeworm. Malaria, leishmaniasis, trypanosomiasis, typhus. Diphtheria, tuberculosis, cholera, meningitis. Leprosy, ringworm, pneumonia, hookworm. Malaria, leishmaniasis, trypanosomiasis, typhus is the answer. Which one of the following happens during integration of virus into host cells? The viral DNA is inserted into the host DNA. The viral DNA enters the host cell. The virus attaches to the host cell receptor. The virus takes over the host cell machinery. The viral DNA is inserted into the host DNA is the answer. Which of the following diseases of animal would be controlled if one is able to control tsetse fly? Heartwater, rinderpest, trypanosomiasis, blackleg. Trypanosomiasis is the answer. Which of the following disease is caused by a DNA virus? Cold sore, AIDS, swine flu, corona. Cold sore is the answer. Choose the one in which the disease and its categorical names are mismatched. Snail-Dimanta deficiency disease, Plagra deficiency disease, typhus vector-borne disease, Parkinson's disease, degenerative disease. Snail-Dimanta deficiency disease is the answer. In which Ethiopian traditional food preparation is the action microorganisms least evident? Injera making, ቆጮ making, ቅንጬ making, ergo or yogurt making. ቅንጬ making is the answer. Which of the following characteristics of life is not possessed by virus? Mutation, nucleic acid, respiration, reproduction. Respiration is the answer. Which of the following statement is not correct? HIV positive people are forced by law to disclose their HIV status. Employers may not dismiss an employee because of his or her HIV status. There is no medication that can reduce your chance of contracting HIV. Mothers can give their babies by means of breastfeeding. HIV positive people are forced by law to disclose their HIV status is the answer. The bird flu is currently threatening the global poultry industry. What is the causative agent of this disease? Bacteria, fungi, virus, worm. Virus is the answer. Which of the following is the causative agent of AIDS? Fungus, bacterium, virus, protozoa. Virus is the answer. Which of the following can be one reason of the difficulty to produce a vaccine against HIV/AIDS? The small size of the virus, the high variability of the virus, its position of RNA instead of DNA, the presence of protective envelope derived from the host cell. The high variability of the virus is the answer. If all dogs in your community are vaccinated, which of the following diseases will be put under control in your community? Meningitis, rabies, leishmaniasis, syphilis. Rabies is the answer. Which of the following is mechanism by which bacteriophage transfer genes from one bacterium to another? Binary fission, conjugation, transduction, transformation. Transduction is the answer. If HIV patients take a drug that inhibits the function of the viral reverse transcriptase enzyme, which of the following process would be primarily affected? Entry of the virus into the patient's body, copying of DNA into RNA, copying of RNA into DNA, protein synthesis. Copying of RNA into DNA is the answer. Anti-HIV/AIDS clubs are today common in schools and colleges. What is the main contribution in the fight against the pandemic? Provide medication for AIDS patients, encourage the girls to have the boyfriends, encourage the boys to have girlfriends, raise awareness about the problem among students. Raise awareness about the problem among students is the answer. Some countries demand foreign travelers to produce HIV/AIDS-free certificates before letting them enter the country. What do we call this type of disease control mechanism? A. Legislative, physical, cultural, biological. Legislative is the answer. Which of the following statement is correct about HIV? It's a bacteriophage, it is a retrovirus, it's a DNA virus, it infects plants and animals alike. It is a retrovirus is the answer. Select the kingdom of life in which cellular organelles are without membrane around them. Plantae, Protista, Monera, fungi. Monera is the answer. Identify from the following a biological control method of malaria. Use of fishes to feed on mosquito larvae, use of DDT spraying to kill mosquitoes, using crop rotation system in farm, hand picking and physical removal of weeds and affected plants. Use of fishes to feed on mosquito larvae is the answer. Which of the following is true about meaning contained in the name of HIV and AIDS? HIV refers to symptoms that characterize the condition. AIDS refers to the causative agent. AIDS refers to the symptoms. HIV refers to probable origin from the chimpanzee. AIDS refers to the symptoms is the answer. Identify the disease that is not correctly paired with the substance whose deficiency causes the disease. Barbie, nicotinic acid. Scurvy, vitamin C. Night blindness, vitamin A. Rickets, vitamin D. Barbie, nicotinic acid is the answer. Of the following, which cell type is attacked by HIV? Red blood cell, sperm cells, egg cells, T helper cells. T helper cells is the answer. If one regularly includes orange in his daily diet, which deficiency disease would be avoided? Night blindness, pellagra, Beverly, scurvy. Scurvy is the answer. Which of the following diseases of livestock is associated with tsetse flies? Rinderpest, trypanosomiasis, pneumonia, anthrax. Trypanosomiasis is the answer. What are the causes of infectious disease? The parental genes, microorganisms, carcinogenic substances, bad lifestyles. Microorganisms is the answer. Among the following human diseases, identify the one that is transmitted through a vector. Leprosy, chancroid, gonorrhea, leishmaniasis. Leishmaniasis is the answer. A number of viruses, including HIV, have more than one strain. This shows the viruses are capable of living outside their host cell, capable of mutation, capable of reproduction, obligate parasites. Capable of mutation is the answer. Which is not true of prokaryotes? They are living cells, lack true nucleus, all are parasites, are either archaebacteria or eubacteria. All are parasites is the answer. Which of the following are rod-shaped bacteria? Cocci, Spirochus, Spirella, Bacille. Bacille is the answer. The cells of which group of microorganisms can be described as prokaryotic? Viruses, protozoa, algae, bacteria. Bacteria is the answer. What are bacteriophages? Bacteria, virus, protozoa, fungi. Virus is the answer. Which of the following is the correct statement about the difference between bacterium and a virus? DNA is present in the former but absent in the latter. Protein is absent in the former but present in the latter. The former is cellular but the latter is acellular. The former causes malaria but the latter causes cholera. The former is cellular, but the latter is acellular is the answer. Among the following infectious human diseases, identify the one that is caused by a virus. Yellow fever, pneumonia, cholera, typhoid fever. Yellow fever is the answer. Why T lymphocytes more vulnerable to HIV infection? Because they possess thin cell membrane, GP120 on their surface, HIV receptor protein, large pores in their cell membrane. HIV receptor protein is the answer. Which of the following statement is true about bacteria? Bacteria found in human body are all parasitic. All bacteria are harmful because they spoil food. All bacteria are cause disease to humans, plants, and animals in some ways. Some bacteria living in human body make vitamins needed by the body. Some bacteria living in human body make vitamins needed by the body is the answer. Which one of the following is mode of reproduction in bacteria? Meiosis, binary division, gametogenesis, lysogenization. Binary fission is the answer. If a patient given antiretroviral drugs that are targeted against the protease enzyme, which one of the following stages of the HIV life cycle would be inhibited? Entry into the host cell, reverse transcription, integration of viral DNA into host DNA, assembly of viral parts into a whole virus. Assembly of viral parts into a whole virus is the answer. Which of the following is true about those bacteria which do well in host spring? They are not metabolically active, they use non-protein enzymes, they get energy of activation from the spring heat, Their enzymes do not denature at the temperature. Their enzymes do not denature at the temperature is the answer. Choose the disease that is caused by what is known as the droplet infection. Flu, AIDS, cholera, malaria. Flu is the answer. Which of the following is the best collective name for all bacteria with spherical shape? Cocci, Bacilli, Spiraceus, Streptococci. Cocci is the answer. In which part of the cell do gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria differ regarding their staining property with gram stains? Cytoplasm, cell membrane, cell wall, nucleus. Cell wall is the answer. To which of the following does HIV belong? Plasmid, retrovirus, DNA virus, bacteriophage. Retrovirus is the answer. What are the individual strands of fungal mycelium called? Fungus, spores, hyphae, hydra. Hyphae is the answer. What is the mode of transmission of diseases such as cholera and typhoid fever? Sexual intercourse, bits of animal vectors, blood-to-blood contact, drinking contaminated water. Drinking contaminated water is the answer. Viruses are better characterized as decomposers, producers, carnivores, parasites. Parasites is the answer. Which of the following is true about the antiretroviral drugs currently used to treat AIDS patients? They cure AIDS, they stop transmission, they serve as anti-HIV vaccine, they slow down HIV multiplication. They slow down HIV multiplication is the answer. What are the most frequent causative agents of food poisoning? Bacteria, protozoa, viruses, worms. Bacteria is the answer. Which of the following practice does not normally transmit HIV? Sexual intercourse through anus, sharing injection needles, blood transfusion, shaking hands. Shaking hands is the answer. Which of the following human diseases can be prevented by taking proper diet? Degenerative disease, genetic disease, social disease, deficiency disease. Deficiency disease is the answer. To which of the following groups do those bacteriophages that integrate their DNA into the chromosome of the bacterial host belong? Virulent viruses, lytic viruses, lysogenic viruses, non-parasitic viruses. Lysogenic viruses is the answer. Which group of microorganisms cause disease known as athlete's foot? Bacteria, fungi, protozoa, viruses. Fungi is the answer. Choose the one which is different from the others. Genetically modified organisms, genetically engineered organisms, pathogenic organisms, transgenic organisms. Pathogenic organisms is the answer. What is the advantage of using HEART for treatment of HIV? It gives lasting immunity to HIV. It prevents mutation of HIV. It prevents reinfection by HIV. It helps us to break the life cycle of HIV. It helps us to break the life cycle of HIV is the answer. In what way does retrovirus differ from other RNA virus? Their genetic material is RNA. They copy RNA to DNA. They are parasitic. They are smaller in size. They copy RNA to DNA is the answer. If a new anti-HIV drug is to be developed to prevent the virus from entering the host cell, which one of the following processes should be the drug target? Reverse transcription, binding GP120 and CD4, integration of viral DNA into host DNA, assembly of viral parts into whole virus. Binding GP120 and CD4 is the answer. Which of the following groups of bacteria consists of rod-shaped, gram-positive, bacille, cocci, spirella? Bacille is the answer. Which of the following is true about protozoa? They are a group of bacteria. They are one-cell plants. They represent both plants and animals. They are unicellular protists. They are unicellular protists is the answer. Which of the following do viruses share with the cell? Cell wall, cytoplasm, nucleic acid, protoplasm. Nucleic acid is the answer. Choose the characteristics that viruses share with living things. They are made up of many specialized cells. They contain genetic materials. They reproduce by mitosis. They contain chlorophyll. They contain genetic materials is the answer. Which stage in the life cycle of HIV inhibitor by the antiretroviral drug known as integrase inhibitor? Conversion of viral RNA to DNA, replication of the viral genome, insertion of the viral genome into host genome, release of viral progeny from the cell. Insertion of the viral genome into host genome is the answer. What is the difference between HIV and AIDS? AIDS is the virus and HIV is the disease. Both AIDS and HIV refers to the disease. AIDS is the disease and HIV is the virus. Both AIDS and HIV refers to the virus. AIDS is the disease and HIV is the virus is the answer. What does the absence of chloroplast in unicellular organism indicate? Reproduction by sexual means, autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition, complete lack of metabolic process. Heterotrophic nutrition is the answer. What color do gram-positive bacteria stain with gram stains? Red, pink, purple, white. Purple is the answer. Among the following organisms, which one belongs to the prokaryotes? Paramecium, Streptococcus, Spirogyra, tapeworm. The Streptococcus is the answer. What is the process called when two bacteria directly contact cell to cell and exchange their genetic information? Conjugation, transformation, co-transformation, transduction. Conjugation is the answer. Which of the following features makes human T lymphocyte cells more vulnerable to HIV attack? Presence of cell membrane, DNA on chromosome, CD4 on membrane surface, DNA on the chromosome. CD4 on the membrane surface is the answer. And which of the following ways retrovirus differ from the other RNA viruses? Their genetic material is DNA, their genetic material is RNA, they copy RNA to DNA molecule, they copy RNA from DNA molecule. They copy RNA to DNA molecule is the answer. Which of the following groups of microorganisms does not contain parasitic members? Bacteria, algae, fungi, protozoa. Algae is the answer. Which one of the following is the smallest of all? red blood cells, viruses, bacteria, protozoa. Virus is the answer. Which of the following is the routine method used by clinics to test people for HIV infection? Microscopic examination of the virus, counting the number of white blood cells, testing for human anti-HIV antibody, measuring the amount of antibody. Testing for human anti-HIV antibody is the answer. The T lymphocyte cells of AIDS patients are destroyed by multiplication of HIV inside the cell, development of immune system, the immune system of the host organism itself, the CD4 receptors on the cell surface. Multiplication of HIV inside the cell is the answer. Which stage of the life cycle of HIV is disrupted if AIDS patients are with drug that has a protease inhibiting activity? Entry of the virus into the host, conversion of viral RNA to DNA, integration of viral DNA into host DNA, assembly of viral parts into whole virus. Assembly of viral parts into whole virus is the answer. One of the following is true about bacteriophages that have lysogenic life cycle. They are RNA virus. They integrate their nucleic acid into that of the host. They have both RNA and DNA. They have retroviruses. They integrate their nucleic acid into that of the host is the answer. Which of the following type of cancer is known to mostly develop in AIDS patient? Cervical cancer, stomach cancer, capsule sarcoma, breast cancer. Capsule sarcoma is the answer. In which of the following living organisms do the cells lack organized nuclei? Fungi, protozoa, bacteria, algae. Bacteria is the answer. Which of the following is major mechanism by which AIDS is transmitted? Mother to fetal transmission, heterosexual intercourse, sexual intercourse in marriage, test before blood transfusion. Heterosexual intercourse is the answer. Which of the following diseases is correctly matched with its causative agent? Malaria, fungus, AIDS virus, ringworm, protozoa, syphilis, worms. AIDS viruses is the answer. Which step in HIV life cycle is disrupted by antiretroviral drug that competitively inhibits reverse transcriptase enzyme? Entry into the host cell, assembly of viral parts into a virus, formation of DNA from RNA, integration of viral DNA into host DNA. Formation of DNA from RNA is the answer. In what way would AIDS patient benefit from treatment with antiretroviral drugs? Reducing of HIV replication, provision of cure of AIDS, immunizing against HIV, killing of opportunistic infectious agents. Reduction of HIV replication is the answer. Which of the following is the best collective name for all bacteria with a spherical shape? Spirochetes, bacilli, cocci, streptococci. Cocci is the answer. Which of the following diseases is transmitted by mosquito? Diabetes mellitus, capsulosis, cancer, rabies, malaria. Malaria is the answer. Which of the following microorganisms are prokaryotic? Bacteria, protozoa, yeast, algae. Bacteria is the answer. From which of the following diseases can one is protected by sleeping under the cover of mosquito net? Sleeping sickness, AIDS, malaria, athlete's foot. Malaria is the answer. Which of the following has the highest risk of HIV transmission? Handshaking, needle sharing, towel sharing, toilet sharing. Needle sharing is the answer. When reverse transcriptase is useful enzyme? When nutrients are scarce, there are no host cells present, RNA virus converts its RNA to DNA, spikes are forming in the new virus. When RNA virus converts its RNA to DNA is the answer. Which of the following human cell type is attacked by HIV? Red blood cells, plasma of blood, T lymphocytes, platelets. T lymphocyte is the answer. Among the following, which one best describes the cells of bacteria? Eukaryotic, prokaryotic, both eukaryotic and prokaryotic, neither prokaryotes nor eukaryotes. Prokaryotic is the answer. Which of the following groups of viruses copy their RNA to DNA? Bacteriophage, DNA viruses, herpes simplex, retroviruses. Retrovirus is the answer. What is the name of a major group of eukaryotic organisms that obtain their nutrition using extracellular digestion? Virus, bacteria, fungi, algae. Fungi is the answer. In what main ways do retroviruses such as HIV differ from other types of RNA viruses? They require a host cell to reproduce, they reversibly copy RNA to DNA, their genes are resistant to mutation, they are free-living viruses. They reversibly copy RNA to DNA is the answer. Which of the following is taken as a signal for the final stage of HIV infection? Signs of a disease capsule sarcoma, growth of long hair, uninfected T helper cells present, no infection by other parasitic disease. Signs of a disease of Kaposi's sarcoma is the answer. In which organ of human body are more bacteria found? Lungs, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. Large intestine is the answer. From which groups of microorganisms the first antibiotics produced? Gram-negative, gram-positive, fungal organisms, viral organisms. Fungal organisms is the answer. The best way to control HIV/AIDS is adequate distribution of condoms, adequate distribution of antiviral, breaking the transmission pathway, homosexuality. Fungal organisms is the answer. Transfer of genes or genes through virus is called transformation, conjugation, genetic engineering, transduction. Transduction is the answer. What is the main method of transmission of botulism? Direct contact, eating contaminated food, droplet infection, drinking contaminated water. Eating contaminated food is the answer. In which of the following groups of organisms are all the members of unicellular? Algae, bacteria, fungi, virus. Bacteria is the answer. Which clinical test is routinely performed to diagnose patients for AIDS? Culturing opportunistic infectious agent, serological test for anti-HIV antibody, culturing the virus on social media, determining the hemoglobin amounts. Serological test for HIV antibody is the answer. Which one of the following human diseases is not correctly matched with its mode of transmission? Malaria vector, cholera contaminated water, sleeping sickness, physical contact, influenza droplet infection. Sleeping sickness, physical contact is the answer.